Okay, we're simultaneously going live and making a tape. Now, here's what I noticed. Then on, say, Facebook, sometimes there's some things. It's like, there's been stuff I try, like, well, I want to get rid of that. Maybe it's something I didn't like. I'm like, I want to redo it. And it was like I couldn't get rid of it. It's like the app's hanging on to it, like, oh, this is the indelible proof. We've got you now. And it's like, well, I guess I'll just leave it up there. I'm not real happy with it. I could do better. Some format or whatever, a video you want to do over. It wasn't a big deal. But I'm just doing this on Facebook so I can publish a reel. Sometimes I forget how to, it's like, oh, you had to do live to do a reel. That's fine. Or it can only be a picture. But then it wanted to show a little bit of a, anyway, it seems to have its own, like, mind as opposed to mine. So anyway, the whole reason for this, there's I was given an answer, or actually a response to a post, a question someone had on a post. And the question was, why, if you don't like me, why do you keep coming back to my page? Which I've heard this many times. It's kind of funny, really, I think. It's like, if you don't like somebody, why you show up on their page? You don't ever like it. You don't share it. You don't seem to like them. But yet, you can't seem to not... You can't seem to, like... You you can't stay away because you're a hater. So, well, why is that? Well, and my answer was a story about it's basically what the mindset is. I call it the torpid stupor, or the torpid stupors. And they live at the bottom of the sea, under pressure, okay? Under high pressure and total darkness, or nearly total. When the light shines on them, it kind of ripples and you kind of can't see them shudder. They look like flat, round rocks. Kind of flattish. Kind of like a curling stone. Nah, not that fat. Flatter, but kind of roundish, but don't have a handle. You know what curling is? It's a winter sport, but anyway. You can look up what a curling rock is, but anyway. So these are more like darkish, blackish colored rocks. They're kind of flat. They're kind of roundish. Not all of it, but they're an entity and a collection of entities, and they don't like when the light shines on them. They kind of ripple in the water. They're at the bottom of the ocean anyway. The water's slightly rippled around them because the light shines on, and they're resentful of the fact that the light shines on them, reminding them that they exist at all. Because they just want to remain there in their torpid stupor state of duh. It's like, well, you exist. Why don't you thank God? And it's like, okay. So there's a body. Occasionally they get gobbled up too, eaten by that which goes along and eats that which is found at the bottom of the sea under intense pressure. I mean, you can't come up too quick from down there. You get the bends. The gas separates out of your blood, and it can cause a brain aneurysm and stuff. You got to be real careful with that when you dive real deep, because the pressure is intense down there. When you think of all that water on top of you, and the force of gravity combined, unless God steps in and make things different, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. Oh, their names before that are Mishael, Hananiah, and what is it? Well, I try to remember all three. Right now I can only remember two of them because I try to make it a point of memorizing their names. I don't know. Mishael, Hananiah, and whatever. Anyway, that's, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They went into the fire and came out not burned. Fire so hot that it burned up the people that were assigned to throw them into it. because God stepped in and changed, he said, well, I'm going to protect you. I can defy my own laws of physics because I put them in place. How powerful is a being that puts in place the law of physics on the material universe? Now that's some power, boy. Well, that's Dad. That's the creator. So anyway, he kind of showed me this, or maybe I made up a story about it. The torpid stupors down there at the bottom of the ocean. Excuse me, I just woke up. It's the 26th. It's early. Lately, I get up around midnight. I go to bed early, 8 o'clock. I'm an old, elderly person compared to a lot. I've been around more years. Even though in spirit and, in fact, in energy, I've seemed younger than most people. Just I have a vibrant, vivacious type of quality about my life. So I understand what she's talking about. People show up to look at your social media posts and site, and they don't like you. Like, why are you showing up? And her comment was, why don't you go have some kids and watch them? Or why don't you go watch your kids? And if you don't have any kids, why don't you go make some and watch them? Maybe learn something from being a mom, right? Well, I don't know. I might feel sorry for those kids if they're going to continue on the way they are. Those people. So like I was saying, the torpid stupors, these kind of like shale-looking rocks type creatures, they're barely anything. And they could have accepted the light and said, oh, thank you, Lord God, as soon as they realized they were existing. Instead, they took the other route. Like when I found out, I was like, I'm alive? Wow, thank you. I was like, somehow knew how to talk and everything. What do I do? And God said, well, I'll show you, I'm like, okay. But they said, God said, you're alive. They're like, yeah, we'd rather, they just had a bad attitude. So there's something that comes along and eats those things. It gobbles them up, in fact. And it's called the tarpon. Now, there's, I think, another fish called the tarpon. Well, this is the tarpon. Kind of like the tarpolian tarpon fish. I think tarps are named after it. I don't know. But anyway, or maybe the tarps resemble tarpon tarpolian hide, because it's a stinky fish. It's like a catfish. It smells really bad. It comes along and gobbles them up. Okay, but the thing is, it's really about the torpid stupors. They resent the fact that they exist instead of thanking God. And that's just like these people, these haters that don't like your site. And I mean, okay, the tarpon comes along and eats them, and then it smells really bad. And if you accidentally net a tarpon or hook one while you're out fishing in the ocean and pull it on board, man, it smells so bad. You try to throw it back, the ocean actually assumes a form of water that we've never seen, and not steam, and it's not ice. It turns into like Jello. Jello with an attitude of a wave, like a fist. And you throw the fish back, the wave comes up like Jello and swats the fish back into your boat. Because this happened to us 6 times in a row. We're about to throw it back a 7th time, and the thing came up like a hand out of the now Jello-like ocean. And it said, listen, like a mouth. Not a hand. I'm thinking of the story of Elijah. And it said, listen, we don't want it back. It's your problem now. I'm like, what? It's a fish so stinky the ocean didn't even want it. If you catch it, he goes, it's your problem now. That's what the ocean told us. So when we docked and land, we had to go drive it, load it in a truck, and drive around, finding someplace stupid enough to let us offload it or leave it there or what, a dump. We couldn't find any dumps of them because it was after hours. But we did find a convenience park. And we said, well, yeah, we'd like to rent a trailer slot. I said, okay. I said, well, we want to see if it'll fit. So we They said, okay, it's around over here. They showed us. And they left us alone. So we took and rolled off the fish and wrapped in some tarps and just left it there and drove off, man. We never went back even to that area of that town. I won't even tell you where that is. But anyway, so that's the thing about the torpid stoopers and the tarpon, the stinky fish, that eats the torpid stoopers. But they're resentful of being alive instead of thankful. Okay, it's been fun. That's the end of the live and the video. I hope it's been instructive.